In the beginning was the word, the spoken word, which sometimes provoked combat. Then came the picture, a combat picture, as man sought to record for his fellow man the nature of his experiences and the lessons he learned. From the picture came written words, at first a kind of artist's shorthand, the first crude attempts to create pictures with words. But the pictures made with words were often obscure. They couldn't tell the whole story, and much of their impact was lost in the translation. For centuries then, man has relied on the universal language of pictures to document his armed conflicts. As the technology of war progressed, so did the techniques and the tools of the artist. The greatest single improvement occurred in the 1860s during the Civil War, when a revolutionary new device for recording historic events was introduced: the camera. There was no nonsense, no romantic inaccuracy about the camera. It captured exactly what it saw, with sometimes appalling reality. And as the equipment and the techniques improved, photography became an increasingly vital source of historic reference, military strategy, and public information. The invention of motion pictures added a new dimension. 1914, on the Western Front. Combat cameraman established himself as an indispensable member of the military team. World War II was documented by 50 million feet of incomparable combat footage. The end of World War II marked the beginning of a new assault. In the vanguard of the burgeoning jet age, sleek new aircraft were already smashing through the sound barrier. New speeds and performance levels required more sophisticated weapons, radio and radar systems. And once again, as in the past, the advances in the technology of war required corresponding advances in the tools and techniques of war's documentation. This is the story of how a serious technological gap was closed in Southeast Asia, when U.S. Air Force combat photography took up the challenge and gave a new look to the age-old language of pictures, and in color. In the mid-60s, the United States became an active participant in South Vietnam's struggle for freedom. Air Force fighter bombers went into action, only to learn the Air Force photo capability then in the field was too small, the stepped-up demand for films too great. Combat camera development had dropped too far behind supersonic fighter aircraft technology and ordnance delivery techniques. In 1965, recognizing the need for remedial action, the U.S. Air Force Chief of Staff directed that an entirely new operation plan be formulated. The planning task was assigned to Aerospace Audio-Visual Service, AAVS, through its parent organization, the Military Airlift Command, MAC. The MAC and AAVS planning staffs followed through. The requested plan was submitted in record time, and approval was received in December of that year. 2 months later, the 600th Photo Squadron, a single manager combat photo capability, including all photo except reconnaissance, began to take shape at Tan Son Nhut Air Base near Saigon. Combat photo function was beginning to align itself with all other Air Force operations in the theater. Headquartered in Vietnam, the squadron established detachments throughout Southeast Asia. One primary mission is combat documentation, called ComDoc. It produces historical documentation footage on the ground, in the air, on every phase of the Vietnam conflict. You see Air Force ComDoc photographers jump into battle. The ComDoc cameramen document anything and everything of significance. The wounded soldier leaves the battlefield within minutes. Max medical air evacuation. Back home in less than 24 hours. The Magic Dragon, 18,000 rounds a minute. ComDoc footage finds an immediate use and fills an imperative need. It provides a film link between the Air Staff planner in the Pentagon and the combat operation in Southeast Asia. It also serves to keep the American public informed on the latest progress of their fighting forces. Equally important, it finds a lasting use as visual history caught and recorded at the moment, on the spot. The highest priority in the Photo Squadron's mission is armament recording photography. This is over-the-target combat documentation, filmed for the most part by cameras installed in the strike aircraft. Airstrikes are filmed in direct contact with the enemy, under hostile fire, as evidenced by these tracers. It is combat photography in its purest form. The footage supplies vital operational information and answers urgent questions. Was the target hit? Which weapon worked best against them? what improvements in delivery techniques and weaponry are needed. Watch this MiG try to evade our missile. Good strike footage is operationally priceless. Adequate airstrike coverage calls for cameras filming forward and aft at various speeds and settings, depending on the type of ordnance carried. Some of the sophisticated fighters arriving in Vietnam had no provisions for airstrike photography. Others had outdated gun cameras. AAVS personnel tackled the gun camera problems head-on. Today, the gun cameras installed by AAVS in Southeast Asia exceed 95% effectiveness. This aiming device, or pipper, appears on most gun camera footage. Pod installation fitted to external pylons and mounted on the aircraft at an ordnance station houses two high-speed cameras, one looking forward, the other looking aft. The pod can be used for tail chase and for recording weapon deliveries of its own aircraft. Pod cameras are only an interim measure. The pod development program was tackled with two goals in mind. First, how to best photograph weapon deliveries, and second, how to install the cameras in the aircraft. This latter problem was solved by devising a blister camera installation. Briefly, a blister is a protrusion on the aircraft. This approximated the ideal of mounting the camera array inside the aircraft. Like the pods, they house cameras aimed forward and aft and are automatically activated when the pilot fires his guns or drops his ordnance.